democracy in India and journalism in India is under threat.
So another one that's personal. Here.
No, but aren't those intellectuals or activists supposed to stand up to the Indian state where, let's say, an individual activist is arrested for his ideological beliefs and denied bail under UAPA, like an Omar Khalid, for example?
India's intellectual class is anti-India.
Maximum number of journalists were arrested in India, next only to China, in the last 1 year. And that was used to again suggest that democracy in India and journalism in India is under threat.
So another one that's personal. Here. Look, it wasn't journalists
No,
arrested.
I haven't gone to jail yet. I might.
Well, good, because it was actually journalists killed. So we don't
That's
want
right,
that at all.
killed.
We don't want anyone killed. So the number of journalists killed is the largest number in a single country outside China, which sounds dramatic. Until you make the very elementary adjustment, what about per capita? So it turns out that in India, there were 3.5 journalists killed per billion people. That's 3.5 too many. In rest of world, there were 6.3 killed per billion people. In fact, it's safer to be a journalist in India, despite the fact, and I emphasize this again, that India is a relatively poor country. It's safer to be a journalist in India than in rest of world. I mean, on that same note, Press Freedom Index, not covered in my paper, Press Freedom Index now ranks India below Hong Kong. 2022, this is post-security law, post the closing of Apple Daily, the abduction of its publisher, the demolishing of its printing presses. Press Freedom Index, published by Reporters Sans Frontières, rates India below Hong Kong for press freedom. Now, you journalists in India tell me, are you more oppressed than journalists in Hong Kong?
You know, I have always believed that journalists are relatively free in India compared to most parts of the world. When I find, for example, Indian academics going to Qatar or going to Middle Eastern countries and lamenting the fate of journalists in India, I wonder whether they are speaking to the wrong audiences. You know who I'm referring to.
I do, and look, that article was about the accusation that India is a fascist state. And I encourage you, pick up your phone and do a quick Google search. Ask Google, is India a fascist country? Google will tell you yes. Look at it, do it right now. You'll find the first 10 results telling you that India is a fascist country. That's something that should really concern you. That is a danger for India, whatever side you are in politics, whether you think that the current government is fascist or not, you make your own judgment. But that India is now being portrayed as a fascist country in the global media, and that if a student who knows nothing more about India, if a legislator, if a parliamentarian, if a journalist overseas who just has to do one article on India, they're not an expert on India, they have to pen off something, they have 4 hours to make 600 words on India, they Google, is India a fascist country? Google says yes, they click some links, now it's there. Now it's in the New York Times, now it's in the Washington Post. That is a problem for India and for Indians.
Are you suggesting that there is this left liberal monopoly in a way over many of these institutes that judge India through the prism of the fact that Narendra Modi, a right-wing nationalist populist leader, is leading India, and thereby tend to, at a way, look at India through the prism of Mr. Modi as the Prime Minister of India?
In a word, no. In a word, no. These are not biased organizations that are out to get India. They evaluate democracy in 150 plus countries. Most of the people involved have no particular interest in India. The problem is that all of these rankings are based on surveys. So each of them has the same methodology. They do a survey of intellectuals, journalists, academics who either are based in the country they're studying or who are students of the country from outside. Prominent academics and journalists who cover, in India's case, India. Maybe people at Harvard, maybe people at JNU, it may be people in the mainstream media. Fundamentally, these biases don't creep in because the organizations are anti-India. They creep in because, forgive me, India's intellectual class is anti-India. As a class, not as individuals.
No. India's intellectual class is anti-India, or are you saying that they are anti-Mr. Modi and are conflating the two? Or are you conflating the two?
There is a bit of both. They're certainly anti-BJP, anti-Mr. Modi.
When there are hundreds of Kashmiris who were put in jail once Article 370 was removed, why not celebrate it rather than suggest this is being anti-India?
The issue is this tied to the BJP government, or will it continue when that government inevitably, I know people think the BJP will last forever. It won't last forever. There will be a change of power at some point. When that change of power occurs, will there be a recalibration in people's opinions, or will the demands placed on Congress and the UPA be unrealistic? Will those demands not be fulfilled by that government either? And the question is India a fascist country today? And if you want to raise your hands, I think that's really an outrageous proposition.
Those who are supporters of Prime Minister Modi are saying Salvatore Babones needs to be embraced by us. He's saying what we've been saying for years. Critics of the Prime Minister are saying, who is this American-based professor in Australia who's never been to India to talk about India's democracy? You want to respond and set that record straight?
And this is my first visit to India. Thank you very much. I am a comparative sociologist, so my work is on international rankings, not on India as such. I've become interested in India because when you look at India in international perspective, in a comparative perspective,